Hello guys, Omni here. On Friday, Netflix dropped the first season of their Witcher series starring Henry Cavill, and I just finished watching all 8 episodes that they have out for us now. And if you've been around for the channel for a little while, you already know this. If you've seen my reactions to the trailers leading up to this, I'll go ahead and restate this for anybody new or just tuning in. I haven't read any of the books in this. I haven't even played any of the games that are also based on those books. My knowledge of The Witcher or Geralt of Rivia is very passing pop culture based knowledge. I'm aware of the character. My roommates told me a little bit about it who's actually played the games. But that being said, I didn't really have anything going into this beforehand. The intrigue and interest mostly came from being in a post Game of Thrones world, being kind of going into something just as dark, gritty, and in that kind of realm, as well as Henry Cavill being cast in the lead, which I thought was strange because of just kind of the way that my image of the character versus how we were so used to seeing Henry Cavill, that I was like really intrigued to see how they pulled that off. The initial test footage that kind of got passed around on the internet when this first started getting announced, as well as the casting, that I was really like, oh, this doesn't look that great. And as the trailer started rolling out, it definitely started winning me over a little bit. The first trailer, not so much. It still looked a little wonky, but that final trailer before the season actually came out, I thought looked fantastic. Henry Cavill looked amazing, and the action looked great. The effects looked really good, and I was on board to check this out. And in this post Rise of Skywalker era that we are in already, having got that off my chest this weekend, I decided to spend the rest of my time that I've taken off from work to, binge this show. I went ahead and watched all 8 episodes that we had out, and I gotta say, I loved it. From the very first episode of this, I fell in love with it. It's a little hard to track how they're telling the story. We're seeing 3 different perspectives throughout this whole season arc, and mostly we're getting a narrative that is split 3 ways between Ciri, Yennefer, and Geralt. And some of their storylines, their arcs, their narratives are on different timelines, and it's not really it's not really expressed as you're watching it. You kind of pick up on it through the context clues and the progression of each character's individual arc as they start to converge and weave in and out of one another, but you're watching them all at the same time. So you're seeing different spans in time in singular episodes as you're moving along, but you're also getting narrative bits that are relevant to each character as it's moving along in these segmented, separated timelines. So it's really complicated in a very complex, very thrilling narrative storytelling direction with it. It is off-putting at first, but I really ended up digging into it, and I thought it was really expertly crafted and done. Not a time during this show did I feel like we were ever kind of trudging along. It really gets to the point in every episode. Even like the things that seem inconsequential really start to pay off towards the later ends. And a lot of these characters, I would say some more so than others, have a lot of depth to it and a lot of complex arcs that I really enjoyed. The performances were just fantastic across the board. The effects were fantastic. The production value in general of this is just really well executed. It was like, for the Netflix's attempt into this kind of genre, they really kind of pulled out all the stops, at least as far as the budget or whatever they must have had to get this value out here with this. I think they blew it out of the water with the expectations that I had for this show. I do wish it was a little bit longer. I do feel like by the time we get to the end of the season, I really am wanting more to be done. I don't feel like we got as much of a conclusion as I would have liked for the first season, but they've already announced that there's going to be a season 2, and this isn't, from what I've heard from talking about people in the comments of the previous videos that I've made, that there isn't a lot of narrative material when you're involving all of these characters as far as the books. So maybe they're just really kind of stretch it out a little bit, but it doesn't even feel stretched out. Like, it feels like we're barely into this story, but so much has happened. It's so interesting how they've put it all together. And, I'd say like I said, with the narrative, the way they're telling the stories, each individual's tales, their paths, their trials and whatnot, it does get a little hard to follow when something exactly is happening. until later towards the end when things start to converge. And with that, there's a lot of jumps in time. And I feel like, I don't know if the books are like that at all. The tales or short stories that these are all kind of based off of, but it's a little jarring at times to know exactly what all has happened in a lot of these time skips, because we only really get to see some key moments as things are progressing. And this show doesn't hold your hand on really anything. They're spouting these names of beasts, these names of locations. There's not very many of them that are really slows down to hold your hand and explain. But I feel like if you're going into this, if you're anyone that's like watched Lord of the Rings, read Lord of the Rings, anything similar to that, Game of Thrones, even, this is going to be just easy stuff to pick up. I think for anybody just kind of jumping into this and be like, well, what's that thing? What does that mean? What is one of these? What is he talking about? And I don't know. Maybe it's just me kind of overthinking it a little bit, but I found it really easy to just kind of go along with the ride. I'm so used to that kind of storytelling and this kind of narrative that, it just, you just kind of roll with it and the world will explain itself. If it was absolutely necessary for you to understand a particular thing or place and their motivation, the show did explain it. It's just, as far as everything else in the world, which is so dense and rich in creatures, mythology, characters, locations, a shared history of this world that is just kind of in the background. We get like touches of some of what's happened in the world and its past throughout some of the little bits leading up to, the arc, each character's individual arcs. That gives you some nuggets. It doesn't go deep into anything, but it never, what mattered to the story, it stopped and touched on, and that's all that we can ask for. Anything else, I think you're just kind of looking a little too deep, and you can look at that up on your own if you wanted to, or go read the books or go look up a wiki or something like that online. Go for it. But the show does a really good job at just kind of getting to the point, getting the ball rolling, and getting you in love with these characters. Henry Cavill, despite all of my reservations about his casting going into this, and I love Henry Cavill. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to watch the show, is because I'm a Henry Cavill fan. This wasn't a character that I felt like in my mind I could associate with Henry Cavill. And he does a fantastic job in this. Like, holy crap, with the action, the choreography, just the way he carries himself, the way he plays off of every other character in this, it really works. And again, I think some of the parts that makes it a little harder to get some of the relationships is with the time skips. And there's clearly some things that have happened between him and other characters that it doesn't kind of take a moment to dive into, but it doesn't really matter for the overall story. It's just some little nitpicking here and there that makes it a little hard to grasp onto. It is very obvious that Henry Cavill is doing a voice the entire time through this show. He is putting on his best Geralt voice. And at first it was a little off-putting, but it definitely does warm up and grow on you throughout the show. And I love it. By the time this was all over, I was just like, please, can I have another episode, please? I felt like we finally got to a point where I'm just like, what? And finally, and we're here and more, please give it. So I don't know. I thought this was really great. I don't know what the general reactions are to this. I had no preconceived notions of what this story was supposed to be going into it. So I don't have this like, well, this in the books, it did like this, or in the games, this happened like that. Or I don't have any I don't know. Maybe I'm just free from having those kind of expectations that's being built off of something pre-existing, rather than just going into this fresh and just taking it as it comes in. So I don't know what the differences are. I don't know if there are any differences between the adaptations, this version of that, or this, that, and that, whatever. But just going into this fresh with nothing at all, I really loved this show, and I cannot wait to see what happens in season 2. I've even got like a little bit of the itch to go play the games, and even I thought about going and ordering one of the books and checking that out, but then I don't want to end up spoiling myself for season 2, but I do want to get some more of this fix in this world. So yeah, I really loved it. I want to know what you guys think. This just came out, and again, with the problem with Netflix, I think with keeping things like this fresh and in people's minds and talking about it, I don't know how long people are going to be talking about this, because we just get the full season dumped out. That's how Netflix has always done it. And for a long time, that's just what streaming did. But with Disney Plus, HBO, and all that, just kind of really stepping up the game, but still having these huge hitting shows span on a weekly basis, keeping people talking about it over a time. I'm really curious to see what the longevity is on the word of mouth for this show. That also being said, with their history of canceling shows just out of nowhere, makes me worry a little bit about this too, especially since like with what happened with the Marvel shows and some of their other popular shows. I'm just like, man, if I get attached to this, are they going to keep running with it? How's this going to keep going? I don't know. They got to keep something going because the streaming market is getting heavy with competition. And I feel like this is a show that will attract some people in if it gets some good word of mouth, if a lot of people are digging it, and we'll see how it goes. I think this will be a show that draws people in. I mean, they got Stranger Things, but from what I heard about season 3 of that, it's starting to fizzle off a little bit, even though I know they've already confirmed going into a season 4. So, yeah, there's that. So who knows? We'll see if Netflix can keep it going strong, but I really love this show. It is a shock and surprise, and I really can't wait to see where season 2 takes us. And I'm really going to have to fight that urge to go and dive into the source material so I don't spoil anything for myself. But I really want to show some support to this stuff too as well. So give me your ideas. Give me your thoughts. If you watched the show, if you watched any of the episodes so far, sound off in the comments. Let me know your thoughts. If you've read the books, if you played the games, what's different? What do you like about this? What do you not like about this? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. We'll have that conversation after the video. But that is it for today, guys. If you liked the video, be sure to support the channel by liking, commenting, and subscribing. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.